one of the things that I think is kind of cool about Jesus, the Pharisees of his day, very religious Jews, they wanted nothing to do with Greek culture or the Greek people, keep them at a distance. And yet Jesus knew the Greek people, he loved the Greek people, he understood their terms, and he talked in a way that they could understand, because Jesus came not just for the Jewish people, but for the whole world. The New Testament was written in the Greek language. Jesus' father was described in the Bible as a Tekton. In fact, Jesus was described the same way in the Bible. And that's often translated carpenter, but I think a better translation is builder. Jesus was a Tekton, a builder. And in New Testament times, they built mostly out of stone. That word Tekton is used in English today in the word architect, which means chief builder, or in the word technician, someone who builds or makes things. A builder in Israel in those days was much more likely to be building with stone rather than wood. But in any case, it involved construction work rather than a furniture shop. Jesus was very familiar with the building trades. In fact, he uses phrases and terms like that all the time as he teaches people about everyday life. Remember, he talked about the wise man who built his house on the rock, the foolish man who built his house on the sand. He talked about the cornerstone. Jesus talked a lot about building. It was an industry he knew and understood. It's what he did for a living before he started his public ministry. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, but he grew up in Nazareth. Nazareth was a very small town in Galilee. Maybe you remember what Nathanael said. Can any good thing come out of Nazareth? He was totally unimpressed with that little village in Galilee. The size of Nazareth, according to what archaeologists have found, is that it was just maybe a dozen families, no more than 500 people would have been living there. It was not a place where there would be a lot of building projects. If Jesus and Joseph were carpenters living in Nazareth, they wouldn't have a lot of building to do there. But there was actually a large building project going on just 4 miles away from Nazareth, where Jesus and Joseph lived. The city of Sephora, or Zappori in Hebrew, which means bird, was not far from where Jesus grew up. Now, it had been an important city, Jewish city, in the days of King Herod the Great. But upon his death, the people of Stevorus, they actually revolted against the Romans. The Roman army came and crushed the revolt, destroying the city. After Herod's death, and things calmed down in the region, Herod's son, Herod Antipas, was given that part of Herod's kingdom. And so they rebuilt this city in grand Roman style, and there are mosaics that are magnificent on this site, as well as we're just looking down at the crossroads between the main road, the north-south Cardo, and the secondary road, the east-west Decumanus. And around it are shops and houses and public buildings. It's a truly amazing place. Zappori was not known in the Old Testament, not mentioned in the New Testament, but was around during New Testament times. In fact, this was a thriving Roman city during the days of Jesus. Jesus, living in Nazareth, growing up in Nazareth, till about age 30, as a Tekton, a builder, would certainly have had connections with builders here at Zappori, maybe even did some work himself. The city of Sephora was rebuilt by King Herod Antipas in the Greco-Roman style. It was built not for traditional Jewish thinking, but for the Greeks and for the Romans who came from elsewhere but were important people, and they chose to live in this new capital city of Galilee. The city included many stately Greco-Roman style mansions, many of them decorated with beautiful mosaics. One of them, depicting a beautiful woman with just a hint of a smile, has become known as the Mona Lisa of Galilee. Like all Greco-Roman cities, Sepphoris had a beautiful 3,000-seat amphitheater. Traditional Greek tragedies and comedies were regularly performed there, and it was an important part of the city that King Herod Antipas had rebuilt. I'm sitting in the theater at Zappori. This theater was around during the time of Jesus. I'm actually sitting on one of those original seats, and my feet are on some more. There's others that have been reconstructed. Your photographer standing on a stage that's been reconstructed, and they actually have performances here regularly. Jesus understood something about the Greek acting world because he used the word for actor often. The word is hypocrite. A hypocrite is someone who performs on a stage pretending to be something they're not. An actor would speak from behind a mask, and they would act as if they were someone that in fact they really weren't. Jesus used that word, hypocrite, 22 times in the New Testament, and he used it to describe the Pharisees. While they looked and acted like very religious men, in fact, Jesus points out, they're hypocrites, they're actors. On the inside, in their hearts, their attitudes, their motives were not nearly the same as the actions that they portrayed in front of other people. They pretended to be very pious, holy, religious people, but in fact, their attitudes, their motives made it very clear that's not who they really were. They were hypocrites. They were actors. That's no way to live. That's no kind of a Christian walk. Just a word about Jesus and the culture of his day. There are some who suggest that Jesus would not have been involved as a builder in the construction of a Roman city like this because it was so contrary to the Jewish world of faith and following the law that Jesus knew. And that could very well be. And yet, on the other hand, Jesus had a message for anybody and everybody. Jesus was not afraid to go to eat dinner in Levi's house at Capernaum, even though the Pharisees criticized him because the people that were there at that dinner were immoral people. And so I'm comfortable with the fact that maybe Jesus was willing to come here and mix it up with the Romans because he had a message for anybody and everybody. Whatever you're struggling with, hurts, habits, or hang-ups, Jesus has the answer for what we need. The city of Sepphoris is a wonderful illustration and reminder of Jesus as a human being living and working among us, understanding the problems of life, and being able to overcome them himself so that he could in fact die on the cross, that he could overcome them for us as well.